students here? Here and here? Okay. All right, tell me again how to say his name.
Makira.
Are you Sean?
Yes.
Hi, Sean, I'm Cindy. Nice to meet you too. Makira?
Kendall.
Henry. All right, I think we start at, we still have about 4 minutes.
Jill. Just step up with your
They sent the schedules. Okay, so perfect. Is it starting like right here?
just not, I forgot.
Somewhere out there. Good thing we're gonna.
Is there somebody that you're looking at? No, that's right. I was just like, I think I know what she's talking about. Like, I think I've definitely heard of it, I just don't know.
Obviously, there's
I think it was, did it was like, I think it was basically like they were drawing like a pretty knowledge, like, a lot of noise and like not really where it came from, and then it just like stopped. So like, there was a week walk outside, and it would just be like, yeah, it was, I have no problem with what I just know what she's talking about. So it's like, it was like 40 years ago. It was like last week.
Okay.
It was actually 3 hours ago. Like, wow, my goodness. Just like, yeah, we might have been too young for like 45 years ago. Yeah. There was this. It like,
Makira and Kendall, do you want to come on up and get seated? How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. That long trip over here, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad though.
What, hour and a half?
4.
Oh, man.
Well, the weather was, like, it started snowing, so it usually takes 3, I think.
Oh, wow.
But I slept the whole time.
Good.
Yeah. Super rested.
My name's Cindy, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. All right, miss.
What do you see as this question? What's it like playing for me? It was probably one of our third best practices. I'd say it was like our 5th best practice.
Okay, it's time to get started. I'd like to welcome the Illinois student athletes. We have Makira Cook and Kendall Bostick to the podium. We'll get started with questions from the audience. Just raise your hand and someone will bring you a microphone. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Kendall, you saw where this team has come from last season to where you are now. Just what's the feeling being here and getting prepped for an NCAA tournament game?
It's definitely really cool. You know, this was kind of something that we had thought about, you know, at the beginning of the season when Coach Green first got here. I mean, one of the things we wanted to earn respect. And, you know, having this year kind of be a rebuilding year and getting to this point is huge. So obviously, like, and Coach Green and I were actually talking before this, like, this year, like, we just wanted to get in the tournament, and now next year we can kind of, you know, dissect some of the games during the season, be like, hey, this is going to help us get a higher seed and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just a really cool feeling just to be able to be here and be able to experience kind of a postseason run.
It's for both of you guys. You've both been in a tournament before, but when you look at this core, there's a chance that it can stay together for a little bit. Like, what can this experience do to maybe kickstart that for you guys who are going to be around for a while?
I definitely think, like, it gives a lot of people experience, and I think having kind of experience in this tournament will help us, you know, down the road and next season, and it'll just bring us together. Like, I mean, March Madness is, I mean, the games are completely different. Like, you're playing people you've never played before. So just kind of having that cohesiveness and going through that experience together, I think will really help us come together.
Basically the same thing that she said. Just like any other game, it's a learning experience for everybody. And the more time we spend with each other, the more our team cohesion gets better. So it's just like a positive. It's going to be a fun experience as long as we go out and do what we usually do.
Makara, just those 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, having the games that you did, what does that kind of do for you confidence-wise going forward into March here?
I think it just shows that I need to have the same mindset going into every game. Nothing's really going to be different. It's a different opponent, but we still have the same things that we stick to. We still have to be disciplined and just do what we do.
Nice. So, I know you're trying at Dayton, but what's been, I guess, different, or what's this journey been like with you guys kind of this year at a new stop?
What's
this journey this year been like with Sean out at new stop after being with her at Dayton?
It's been different. It's been a good year. It's been a good journey. But it's a new thing, so every new thing comes with different things. So when you like each year, you just have to come ready and clear the plate from last year and look ahead, and you know what I mean.
To build off that a little bit, you were with the conference champion and then follow your coach to a team that had won 2 conference games the season before. Now being here again, does that decision to follow Shauna feel a little bit redeeming to get to this point once again?
Yeah, I like that word, redeeming, but I just knew, like, following her was going to be a good idea. Like, the trusting part, that's where trust comes in, and it was just like, I kind of knew. I know Coach Green, like, I know how she coaches, and I know how good she is, so I was just like, let's follow Coach Green, and I already knew it was going to be a good idea.
I mean, the program hasn't been to March Madness in 2 decades, but you both have NCAA tournament experience. How beneficial do you view that to be in terms of just kind of helping your teammates kind of get acclimated with this environment?
I definitely think it's very beneficial, just, you know, having some people with that experience. It just we can kind of help lead the team during this time. I mean, it's very, like I said earlier, it's very different than the regular season and during those games and stuff. Quick turnarounds, you know, you have practices in different gyms. So just being able to kind of like lead this group through it and just kind of share our experiences and how we can kind of like help them, you know, during like treatment, during practice, off days, just kind of help guide them through this. I think it's pretty beneficial.
Kendall, you said you and Coach Green had a talk before the season about being here.
Yeah.
Maybe from the outside, like, that seems like kind of early, but like, why was the time right? Like, what would that mean to you to maybe put those expectations or ideas on the table at that point?
Yeah, I know a lot of us from last year, when we first kind of met with her, that was, you know, one of the goals that we had. Like, we wanted to make, you know, a tournament. And it was one of my goals when I came to Illinois. Like, I want to make a tournament by the time I'm done here. But I think it just kind of helped us kind of set the bar for where we want to be. And, you know, like, I think it's a lot easier to work for something when you kind of have a goal in mind, obviously. So just kind of, you know, everyone being on the same page and having the goal to get here and having that in mind just kind of pushed us through the season. And obviously next year I feel like we can really build off of that and kind of dissect it a little bit more. But I think it was very beneficial for us from the start, like everyone being on the same page, like Adalia and all of us. So it was big.
Makara, you know, Coach was talking about just last year, just sort of the big games is when you really like to shine. What is it about these big opportunities that you really enjoy in March Madness?
I think just playing in big games gives you an opportunity to rise to an occasion. I mean, in our minds, our mindset's always like we're the top team. So just rising to the occasion and doing what you have to do.
KB, how do you feel like playing in the Big Ten has prepared you for the bigs that you're going to see tomorrow night against Mississippi State?
You know, I definitely have thought about that a little bit, especially, and you know, I think for me being undersized and having to play against people that are constantly bigger, stronger than me, I think it's really, really prepared me well. And, you know, I'm going against Mackenzie Holmes twice during the season, Monica Sonato, you know, Tyra Parks from Michigan State, Emily Kaiser. So I think it's really prepared me because the Big Ten is so diverse. Like, all the bigs are different. I mean, you don't just have, you know, bigs that turn and shoot. You have bigs that can drive. You have bigs that can shoot threes. Like, so I think it's really prepared me well and just kind of helped me kind of have a lot of tools in my pocket to be able to handle, you know, the bigs here. Because the SEC, I mean, there's some big bigs. So just kind of being able to have those tools in my tool belt just to be able to kind of use what I can.
How can I trust the trusting of Coach Green when you came over here? What did you do to build that trust, and what was kind of your first impression of her?
Like my first impression from before I was in college.
Oh yeah, or just whenever you first met her, yeah.
My first impression of Coach Green. So when we met, I was young and I was going through the recruiting process. So I was in contact with like just a lot of different coaches and staffs, and the thing that set them apart and Coach Green apart was just like they didn't sell me any false hopes. So when I went to Dayton and I visited, I could just tell it wasn't a facade. Things were genuine, and like they cared. I knew I was gonna come in, have to work. Like it wasn't sold to me like, oh, you're gonna be a freshman, you're gonna do this, this, and this. Like I knew I had to come in, work, earn my spot, and I like that they tell you up front what they want, what they need, and if you can't give them that, then like it's not gonna be the spot for you. And that's what I wanted. And I feel like I was being sold a lot of false hopes, false dreams, so genuine.
But Makara, I remember you kind of told me before the season you were really looking forward to just this opportunity with this team to kind of prove some people wrong about what this group could do. What's this kind of meant to you to be able to put this program in this position and do this with this group of players?
It means a lot, but it's taken all of us, like all 13 of us, the coaching staffs and everybody around the staff and stuff like that. Every single day, like it's an effort that we all have to put in. And like it's a hard job because we all had just kind of met like 10 months ago now, and we just have to continue coming together, and getting through it together is what's really taken us to where we are right now.
Makara, your teammates have kind of told me that warm-ups are a big deal for you because they kind of know if you're going to be on a heater really early in warm-ups. Is there a process that you kind of go through where you kind of know whether or not you're on any given night, or do you have to kind of go through the flow of a game?
I think in warm-ups, if I'm having fun, if I'm loose, and if I'm missing a lot of shots, that I'm going to have a good game.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, ladies. Good luck.
Test check.
Am I doing okay? Okay. Do we need to wait, or can we?
You can go on coach's schedule.
Coach's schedule? Okay. Hi. Okay, let's get started. I'd like to welcome Illinois head coach Shauna Green to the podium this afternoon. We'll get started with a few questions. Please raise your hand, as we did before, and we'll get a microphone to you. Thank you.
Sean, you mentioned on Sunday with the continuity, like, I mean, you still have pretty much all of your rotation players have one or multiple years left. How big of a springboard could this be? And then are there any parallels to maybe that 1920? I know this tournament was canceled a date, but is there any parallels to kind of having that same core?
No, not really parallels, because we lost the 1920 year. We graduated, some really key pieces in that. Now, granted, we followed up and won 2 more championships after that, but we lost some really key pieces. But the continuity here and going into next year and potentially with the COVID year, with some of these guys potentially coming back for that, it's critical. Like, and KB and I were actually talking about that just at the hotel right before we came over here while she was getting some treatment, and we're sitting there talking about like, obviously we want to be in the moment and we're not looking to next year. Like, we want to take care of business here, but we're just talking about this opportunity, this experience. Throughout this whole year, everything was our first. This whole year, everything was our first with this group. Like, any adversity was our first. Any success was our first. Like, they were still learning me. I was still learning them. So now just having some, having been there and like we were saying, hey, it's nice to learn while being in the NCAA tournament instead of sitting there at home being like, hey, this is what we need to do in order to get to an NCAA tournament. This is the next step we need to make in order to get in. So it's just an unbelievable, experience for our players, and one that we're obviously not going to look at that right now. We're gonna work on the present. But going forward, I mean, this is just, it's huge. It's huge, and we'll learn a lot, but we like to learn from success instead of failure. But we'll carry on with that after the year.
Just sort of with Makai and your history with her at Dayton, how has that relation kind of grown with you guys at this new stop, and how important has she really been to you guys in this?
Yeah, like Makaira said, it was the trust and that loyalty. She's one of the most loyal people that I know, and once she earns your trust, she's gonna be there for you through thick and thin, and she's just that loyal person, which quite frankly, nowadays you don't get a lot of that loyalty, right, in anything. And she's just, obviously, the play speaks for itself. But, for me to now, this is my 3rd year with her, and to see her growth, every day, it kind of amazes me, because I remember what she was like as a freshman. I remember, even last year, we remember all the times that where she's grown in areas, and I think that's why we coach. That's the fun part about it, is to see the growth of players more so as people. The playing growth is fun, but to see the growth as in leadership and as people is really fun to see.
I know it's a shorter week than you had anticipated for healing, but any updates on Bryn and Jayla going into tomorrow?
Yeah, they're still day by day, see how they feel, but hoping for the best, like we always do. Yeah, that was probably the only thing that I didn't like about the quick turnaround, was in our position, a couple more days of rest would have helped with some of our injuries, but it is what it is, so it's still day to day.
Sean, I know it was 6 months ago, but can you walk me through the dark scrimmage against Notre Dame and what were your expectations walking into the gym, and how maybe that changed immediately afterwards?
Yeah, I think our players would say the same, and I know you've heard me say it. I know you've heard in some post-game interviews that point that we talk about, where I think we really believed, was after our scrimmage with Notre Dame. And going into it, to be completely honest, I really had no expectation. I did not know what to expect. I didn't know how we would compete. I didn't know how we would produce, because it's different when you practice against each other and practice guys for months leading up to that. And then you have, we knew Notre Dame was going to be a top, 10 team. I mean, we knew they were going to be good. So then you have them coming into your gym with a brand new team, a brand new coach, a brand new system. And the thing I take away from that scrimmage was our fight and our toughness and our resiliency. We were down, I think, 15, 17 points, I think, and we fought back. And so when we left that scrimmage, and anyone that knows our program and what I want our team to be about, it was the toughness that we showed. It was the fight that we showed. And everything else, I knew we would be okay with. But if we had that fight and the toughness to come back and to never quit and to keep working against a top team in the country, that's when I was like, okay, we have something here. Like, these guys, we can do something special this year. It doesn't have to be, next year or 5 years from now or whatever. And that was the first moment, I think, for me, that I knew we had it. You think you have it, but then when you go into competition and battle against a top team, I think that's where we got our belief.
Just what is it kind of about Makaira that allows her to kind of shine in the big moments? What is it about her, the player, that allows her to thrive in those kind of moments?
I think when the lights are the brightest is when she does rise up, and, you heard her say, rise to the occasion. But that's that competitive spirit in you. That's the drive that, you got to have in you. Like, most players, like, this is what you have worked your whole life for, right? You're playing on the biggest stage, you're playing an NCAA tournament, and what do you have in you? And that's that, like, those are the special, like, competitors that you have on teams, and that, I've been blessed to coach, is that when the lights are the brightest, you're ready to go and you compete. And it may not be perfect, but she's going to go out there and she's going to battle, and she's going to try to will us to win. And I thought she really rose to the occasion in the Big Ten tournament. Her aggressiveness, her mindset on both ends of the floor. She locked in defensively, and then she was super aggressive offensively. And we need her to be in that attack mode. When she's in attack mode and when she's that aggressive, when she's playing with that confidence, we are a much better team.
Obviously, another post-battle for Kendall tomorrow. What have you learned just about her ability to find her own and thrive as kind of an undersized post this season?
Yeah, I mean, and again, Kendall, we talked a lot. Right? We had a good conversation right before this because we covered all your guys' questions in our own conversation. She is, like, I don't even think sometimes that people give her enough credit. I mean, she's what, 6'1", Kendall, on a good day, maybe? Yeah, in basketball shoes. So let's say she's 6 feet. Like, and we're asking her to go and guard Holmes and Sonano and Jessica Carter tomorrow, and some of the best post players, in the league are in our conference. I mean, legit, we have some of the best post players in the Big Ten, in the country. And yeah, I yell at her a lot about maybe boxing out and stuff, but I will never, ever, ever question her heart and her competitive spirit and her tenacity and her will to win, all those things. Like, I mean, what she does at her size and able to produce and now be a double-double, which I knew she would be coming into this year, it's really remarkable. And I think that sometimes, again, I'm so glad she got on all Big Ten team because she deserves it. And I think sometimes we forget, her size.
We're talking about seeing her in high school, but what about her as a recruit stood out, and how did that relationship kind of start and develop when you were recruiting her?
That she never responded to my texts quickly. Still doesn't. God love her. No, I'm just kidding. I told you guys, like, Makaira's just one that just her loyalty stands out. And she had already committed to a school, and when that head coach had left, she had decommitted. So it was a shorter recruiting process, with Makaira. And I think that one thing that probably, stood out to her was just our unwavering consistency, I would say. Like, we were at every single game of hers in the summer. Wherever she was, we were. The relationship piece is big for us, and it's big for her because, again, she's a trust person. And if you don't have that relationship, then you're not going to gain trust. And I think just consistency. I think that's recruiting. And certain kids really value that. And I think she values consistency. And again, the relationships and trust. And, that's just our relationship. We're going to have open conversations. Sometimes she's not going to like what I say. Sometimes I'm not going to like what she says. But I respect her. I love her to death. And I trust her.
Kyra, Kendall, Jen, and Bryn, I mean, they've all played in this NCAA tournament before, but how important do you view that past experience? I know there's some of the leaders on the team but how much more trust or additional trust do you kind of put on them in this environment?
You know, I think that experience does help in this. I do. But then, you know, it's also the first, though, that we're going through it as a group. And I think that's different. I think that's comes back to what Joey was even saying about the continuity piece of, you know, imagine what this will look like. But you got to have a first. you can't have multiple years if you don't have a first, right? So I think that we'll lean on them for leadership, like Kendall talked about, and Makaira and Kendall both know this, that they're going to have to lead because they lead every day. So it's not like, oh, now you're in the NCAA tournament. Now you've been there. Now you have to step up to be a leader. They've been leaders since day one through it all. So now we're just in this position. Yeah, it's a little bit brighter lights and a bigger stage, but it's another basketball game. And it's about us doing what we do, and it's about them being the best versions of themselves and the best leaders that they can be. And I just challenged them this morning in our film session about that. We need that leadership. We need them to set the tone with energy and talk and the consistency in our core values. So, you know, but it's their first time in the NCAA tournament with an Illinois jersey on, and in the positions that they're in now and the leadership expectations that they're in now, and being the key players, everything to them's new. So that's also where I have to do a good job, and our staff has to do a good job of leading them and making sure that they're in the right frame of mind, that they're in the right mindset, so we can come out and, again, go through this together. We're all in it together. You know, this is our first time all together in this journey with Illinois in the NCAA tournament.
As a follow-up on Bren, if she was able to get cleared late in the process here, would you be inclined to let her go and play without much practice, or if any practice at all?
Yeah, you know, she's been able to practice a little bit here and there, so that's been a great sign. So yeah, I will, you know, as long as medically and she's, you know, everything is fine and they say she's good to go, then, you know, because she's been, we're kind of in that moment now where we're progressing her up for this. And again, that's where our plan got a little expedited with it being a little bit sooner, because we were on a plan for the week. You know, hopefully she'll feel good again today and her what she's doing in practice, and then she'll be ready to go tomorrow. I never want we're never going to put anyone out there that doesn't feel confident or, you know, is not healthy. And again, they got to want to do it. So, but hopefully she'll be able to go.
I guess just Sunday night, how late of a night was that for you, preparing for Mississippi State, and what's kind of the last few days look like prep-wise?
That's why I look like I look right now, because we haven't slept much in the last couple days. It was a late night. We were at the office. I don't know what time we left, and then I went home and I just continued to watch film until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. So we got a couple hours of sleep on Sunday, and then obviously we've been in prep around the clock. And you know, I actually feel really good with where we're at and how quickly we got into being confident in a game plan, confident on what we need to do. And luckily, a lot of the things they do, we've actually prepared for. You know, they press some. We prepared the last month, you know, preparing for Maryland. You know, they like to do certain other things. We've prepared, again, for Big Ten teams. And so a lot of what they do, it's nothing we haven't seen before. So I feel very confident in the process and how quickly we got to that.
What's your favorite drill to coach in practice?
What do you guys hate the most? What do you guys hate the most, would you think? D-trans. Oh, yeah, D-trans. I agree. I don't really like to coach that either, because I know you guys don't like it, and then it's just usually ends up being a little ugly, so.
So compared to the summer when you got here very quickly, everything was scattered, and like you guys were just all over the place, compared to now that this team is at the NCAA tournament, how do you feel, like, stress level, joy level of just seeing everything kind of come together, even though we're still not done?
Geez, you're better on that side than this side. You guys better watch out. She's coming for your jobs. That was good. I feel really good. Compared to the summer, compared to the first day of workouts, and KB was there. I don't know if you remember, maybe the first morning workout after the press conference and like my second day on the job, It was bad. Thanks, KB. You said it. It was. I didn't know. I didn't know what the year would be. I didn't know how many games we could win. And then we got the whole crew there in summer and came over. And I remember that first team meeting. And it was like the most awkward team meeting because no one knew each other. You know, normally on a team meeting, you have everyone, at least it's just like 4 freshmen that don't know each other. That team meeting, no one knew each other really, besides a couple people, and so it was very quiet. And you know, just that's the thing I think brings me the most joy, Makaira, is how this team came together and the journey that this team has been on, and how quickly they've come together, and how much trust they've had with us and with each other, and to be sitting here, you know, 10 months, whatever it's been. Since we did all come together, you know, at Jupiter's that first night, we've come a long ways. We've come a long ways. And when I think about it from that big picture, it makes me really, really proud of the players, because it was a quick journey that we got to where we're at. And I'm so happy for them, and I'm so proud of them.
So portal opened yesterday, and I'm wondering what your world is like when you're having to maybe keep an eye on the portal while you're in an NCAA tournament and trying to prepare for that.
Yeah. You know, it's bye, guys. It's part of it, right? So we're keeping an eye out for it. It's a little bit different this year because it was like that. They put the time on it, where last year was kind of already, you know, you had already seen it when coaches, you know, left or resigned, whatever. So, you know, I try not to think about it too much. I know the assistants they're all over it. They're checking that thing. Like I was checking the net during the year, and I told you guys I checked that more in the stock market. They're checking the portal like the same thing. So anyone that's intriguing, I know that I will hear about it from them.
What stands out about particularly, I don't want to say bad, but with that first press conference workout, like what do you remember thinking about that? And that's kind of like the ground floor maybe of everything.
Yeah. I guess you got to think about it, right? Like that was, I literally, I mean, it's almost been a year because I just had finished our season. We just lost in the NCAA tournament on Friday. This is probably Wednesday of the next week. I'm in a gym at a different school with different players and 0 staff and Justin, who I don't know. And I'm like, why am I in Champaign, Illinois, in Orange, coaching this team? Like, I mean, that was how I had no time to process anything. It was boom, 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 and now I'm coaching another team that knows nothing about what I'm trying to do, has none of the groundwork of the fundamentals and all the things we pride ourselves on. And so the last practice, I had to practice 3 days prior to that, and it's a veteran team of 5th, 6th year, you know, seniors that know exactly what I want. And now I come in, I mean, the layups they were doing is like not even a normal layup. They're doing all this crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, wait, we don't do that here. Like, just shoot a normal. I mean, it was, so put it in that. It was like the extreme. It would have been different maybe if I had a week or two of like, okay, I'm going to be taking over a whole new team. I kind of know who these people are. I mean, I didn't, like, barely knew their names, you know, besides people I knew. So when you look at it like that, it was, and then they couldn't. They didn't make layups, and their footwork was all over the place because it's not what we taught. I mean, it was like grade school workouts which is always what we do in our program. The first week or two it's like what you would do in a CYO practice, because we're big on footwork and passing and doing layups, and the fundamentals matter to us. So it was just literally one extreme to the other.
I guess kind of, we talked about that team meeting earlier. How did you kind of break the ice? Of the players, like who broke the ice, and how was that kind of built?
You know, it's just, I mean, I don't think we broke the ice. I think it was just, you know, you have to kind of go through some of those awkward times and the growing times. And I laid out what we're about and our vision and how we do things. And I put a lot of ownership on them to be, I knew that if we didn't have relationships and if they weren't tight off the floor and had those, you know, build those and the trust off the floor, then we wouldn't have success on the floor. And I firmly believe that. So I gave them ownership of, this is our summer. I don't want to, I don't believe that I can't do you guys get together at 8 p.m. on Thursday. You guys do this, because then they're not gonna buy into it. So I put the ownership on them of, you guys got to be together all the time and build that. And they really took ownership of that and really quickly had those, built those relationships and built some of that trust. So a lot of it's on them. And it just is a process. It's all a process.
Coach, hi, Austin Huff with the Goshen News. So this is probably going to be a friendship question. You mentioned all of the turnover and kind of new people coming in. How important was a person like Bryn, who knew what you did at Dayton, to maybe help with navigating a new scenario like we were in here in Champaign?
Yeah, Bryn was really critical because we recruited her and we knew she fit our system perfectly. And I really believed that the Big Ten suits her. She's a big wing 4 player, which she fits our 4, how we play our 4 perfectly. She can shoot it. She has great size. She stretches the floor. And then she was familiar with our system. And then I just knew what type of person she was and the character and who she is at her core. And she works. So all those things, and I think that's where the biggest thing with why we had success in the portal is because every kid that we took, we knew. So I knew Bryn was going to fit us. And granted, she didn't play that much as a freshman because we were so senior heavy at Dayton. She knew expectations, she knew standards, she knew system. And I saw her grow through that year, even though it might not have showed in playing time. She had some really big games too. So Bryn was huge, and look at her now. I mean, now she started, pretty much every game for us is a critical piece, and I think we see the value of her now that she hasn't been there either. She does so much for us besides making baskets. So we're anxious to get her back.
Any changes on her health, or is she going to be still day-to-day?
Yeah, she's day-to-day. Like I said, she's been practicing a little bit here and there, so we're hopeful, but it'll kind of just be how she feels today.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone.